What's up, gamers? This is iCath here with some new Beasts of Bermuda content. This episode is featuring the most ferocious land carnivore in the game, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Because I'm playing on a community server, we've all agreed to play by a set of rules which I've described and you can read if you go ahead and pause the screen. Without further ado though, let's dive straight into the survival style for this Tyrannosaurus Rex. When you first start playing on a Rex, the first thing you do is you skulk around and try to find some food. Once you reach 0.45, you have a chance of getting your first inherit. For this Tyrannosaurus Rex, I received an inherit in the Aqua Affinity talent, which would make me swim faster. Because of this inherit, it meant that I could swim faster than any Rex that just put the normal 3 points in. Therefore, I know going this, I can specialize my playstyle to have a unique advantage over other Rexes in the game. Irregardless of whatever talent builds you choose to go, one thing that is a defining characteristic of the Rex in this game is the fact that you're an ambush predator. In this clip, my packmate and I immediately pounce on this Megalosaurus, who then proceeds to elude us by running away into this cave. Once we're inside of the cave, he takes us to a very large gore which we proceed to contest him off of. Now that we've secured food, we're safe for a moment. However, we're then preceded by challenged by a smaller Rex from outside of the cave. My packmate accepts the challenge and he charges in. We trade blows, but it's not too long before this Rex winds up on my tail. The only way that I can get out of this tail ride is to try and make enough distance between me and him that my packmate can kill him. Very shortly after comes a wonderful demonstration of why Rexes on community servers look to have so much player gore with them, as another group of larger Rexes comes into the mouth of the cave. Because they're so large, they're unable to fit through this entrance, which will give us a couple more minutes of protection. However, they come around the back and contest us immediately. Unlike our fight with the smaller Rex, there's no way that we can take it with these guys, so we immediately leave the cave. This group won't be able to chase us out of this exit, and they wouldn't be able to either because they have to finish that gore before hunting any other players. Because we're now out of gore, we have to go hunting again. We return to the coastlines and look for any easy prey. We're lucky enough to find a lurd leaving the water, likely after some fresh water. If this dinosaur makes it back to the ocean, there's no way that we'll be able to catch him. However, because I've invested my points into the speed tree, I'm able to easily close the distance and get on top of him. Being careful to not take too much damage from his stomp attack, I wait until I'm able to get on his tail, and once I do that, the fight's all over. A gore of this size will fill our bellies and give us gore protection for almost half of an hour. One of the ways to make your player gore last longer is to be scavenging for spawn gores instead of eating off of it. Moments like this, when the gore is found underneath the water, make talents like Aqua Affinity extremely useful on a Tyrannosaurus. Making my way onto this island, I discover an ichthy hiding underneath the rocks. Once I see that he has a scent trail, I know that I can hunt him. Whenever you're playing a giant carnivore like a T-Rex, you can't pass up opportunities like this for the sake of being nice. The player gore that this ichthy will provide to me can easily save my life in the future and save me from starvation if not another carnivore. One of the best survival tips that I give to anyone in this game is to never go AFK. Unfortunately, this Apatosaurus right here has not yet learned that lesson. As me and my teammate are exploring these islands, we came across him and he made absolutely no movements as we approached. This guy was absolutely not there, which gave us all the time that we needed to line up our bites to figure out how we could kill him while he was standing on top of this rock. The way that what we ended up going for was his back left foot was hanging off the rock just enough for me to get some bites in there. However, as noted by the orange bar that began running out as I attacked him, I don't have enough power to kill him in one single blow. Therefore, I'll need to go ahead and rest, and once that bar fills up, I'll try again. My packmate tries to bite him, however he's not quite large enough to be able to reach the foot. I guess that shows just how lucky, or maybe unlucky, this entire situation really was, because I was just the right size to be able to hit and kill this Appa. I'm really not trying to say that I'm proud of this kill or anything. After all, I killed a dude when he was AFK, but when you get this lucky, you don't let an opportunity like that slip out of your hands. For a moment, we were unable to actually eat from the gore, but I eventually was able to start grabbing some legs off, and I could eat from it no problem, which means that we're actually able to claim this gore, which was a big fright because originally this admin said that he wouldn't move it, but he observed us claiming it. So therefore, when this next group of Rexes came in, who were 3-pack and much larger than us, we knew that we had gore protection, so all we had to do was wait for them to 3-call us. Which they should be doing right about now. Why aren't they 3-calling us? Do they not want the food? Why haven't they 3-called us? Oh my god, what are they doing? Yeah, they just killed us with no contest. Thankfully, we had this recorded, but whenever somebody breaks a rule like this, you can get your dinosaur revived by talking to an admin. After all, you lost your dinosaur to what's called a rule break. So we'll be doing that, but it'll take time for the ticket to go through and the process to get the dinosaur revived. Because it's going to take some time, I go ahead and log out to start making the ticket, and me and my friend decide that we'll go and play on another server. Perhaps the no rules barren wasteland that we all know and love, called Official 2. I tried to go ahead and revive the Megalosaurus that I had that had 4 out of 3 sneaky that I really like on Official 2, but I'm short a couple of survival points, so I log on to this other one that I have instead. Right before I logged in, my packmate killed a parasaur that was on the island, so we already have some gore to eat, which is a great start when you just log into the most aggressive and toxic server in the entire game. Why is it toxic? Well, you're about to find out. And first off, do you remember my advice about never go AFK? Well, do as I say and not as I do. Fuck. This T-Rex that had just spawned on the island was the parasaur that my friend had just killed. He had a Rex parked on this island and used it to kill me. Little did he know, I practically invented this toxic strategy and also have a 1.2 nested Rex on this island. Yeah. Got him. By the time my friend had gotten his Rex revived on that server, patch day had came and went, and with it, a talent reset had occurred, so I feel like this is probably the best opportunity I'll get to describe my talent builds for T-Rexes in this. However, if talent builds aren't really your thing, go ahead and use the timestamp in the description below to skip ahead for more content. Now, when I first started out this Rex, I went the speed tree. Speed is really good because it helps a Rex get to 1.2 by avoiding fights that they can't take. But since this Rex is already an adult, in my opinion, the speed tree's usefulness is pretty much already negated. Therefore, I decided to go ahead and respec this Rex as combat. For starters, even though I received an inherit in the Aqua Affinity talent, you'll notice that I'm not putting any in for this build. The reason for that is that ever since Rex got their swim speed nerfed, I really have not enjoyed the talent as much as I used to. Therefore, I'd rather put it into a combat talent. One of the number one talents that I would get on almost any dinosaur has got to be weather resistance. While it's not entirely optional and you can save 3 points by not going it, I'd highly recommend going it for this build because I do think that weather resistance is more useful than intimidation and provides a better pathway to thick hide. After that, we'll dive straight into the combat tree. Adrenaline is really useful for those fights where you get below half HP. Believe me, it will matter. Stoic is really useful for carrying around gores, and somewhat less useful for providing knockback resistance. Persistence, Brawler, and Bruiser are some of the most important talents in the game for Rex, and in my opinion, if you don't have at least 1 point in each one of these, your Rex may not have enough damage to kill some targets. So I would super recommend getting these points, and I'd also recommend getting Unbreakable at the end of the combat tree. Since we're not diving too deep into survival to get strong bones, this is a good replacement for that ability. Next up, to get to thick hide, I would recommend going through tough stomach and then going to thick hide, because I believe tough stomach and thick hide are both better talents than intimidation. However, you could save yourself a lot of talent points here if you skipped weather resistance and just went through intimidation instead. However, that's just not my personal playstyle. Out of the Element also combos really well with weather resistance, allowing you to hunt within growth storms. Sharp Teeth and Exhausting Bite are the last talents that I would really call necessary for combat Rex in this tree. However, many variations and different playstyles are available on Rex, and it's always best to experiment with what works for you. Now that we have our Rexes back and that I've respec'd his combat, the very first thing that we need to do is meet up together again as a group. We find a third for our group for this play session, and we head out. It doesn't take long into this play session for us to find our first piece of player gore defended by just a single meg. Our new packmate here is a Speed Rex and has went ahead and contested it for us, while me and Packapuck hang back and prep our devastating charge for this engagement. He of course forfeits the gore, and we're free to come in and eat. So far, events have been largely unproblematic except for that one rule break, but we recovered from that exceptionally well. Our next goal, however, is we need to deal with some of the larger predators on this server. They're good competition for food, and if we ignore them for too long, they'll become a problem in our absence. As our pack explores the island, a juvenile player comes along to show us how even the smallest predators can be a headache for us larger ones. While not a direct threat to us, he is eating up the bias flowers that we would like to use to grow larger. Therefore, it shows that competition of resources is real and that you have to be the top dog on any server to survive. Towards the tail end of this playthrough, we begin chasing down some acros when our mate, Neuraut, runs too far ahead and we can't help in this fight. The acros begin ripping him apart, and there's nothing we can do because as we are not Speed Rexes, we can't close the distance in time, and right as I get there, I see his body drop. It's always sad to lose a player like this, but on this server you cannot contest for your own teammate's score. It's an anti-cannibalism rule, which I'm actually a really big fan of, so the only thing that we can do is break away. Regroup and recover on another day. We start by getting some water sat and start prowling the island when we find a large group of acros with a piece of gore to contest. We move in for the 3 call. The opposing party accepts the challenge, and now we have a fight on our hands, and a very dangerous one at that. Acros are able to reward and reduce the damage of a Rex by almost 50%. In addition to that, they do a lot of it themselves. So if they get a roar off and get onto one of our tails, they can easily win this fight. In addition to that, whereas we have 2 players, this group has 4. We slowly approach with our charges ready, waiting for them to turn tail and allow us to charge and get on top of them. However, as they have chosen to fight, they're looking for an opportunity to get onto us at the same. Normally the fight's over at the first body drop, but for some reason this guy wants to keep going. And that's it. In a 2v4, we actually killed 2 players despite a rule break and come out on top. It turns out that the server's founder, Velino, is actually in the other group. There's a bit of a debate as to who gets which gore, and he tells us that a group cannot claim more than 1 gore, but our argument is that you cannot claim your own teammate's gore, so he passes it along to us. It's always important to manage your risk versus your reward, as the risk there was dying and losing these Rexes, but the reward was it gave us an hour of food and protection from other players. And this is probably the #1 piece of advice for Rex play, is if you want to stay on top, you've got to be savage. It's the next day when we're in a group of 3 and we come across Velino's group again. Once again, they have PG, so it starts off that we have to contest them. Now, it's not clear to see. I guess these people must have not been very experienced with the rules, as they Z-call pack. However, they should have 2 called to forfeit the gore. They tell us that Velino's AFK, so we give some time before initiating a fight, and once Velino's back, we decide to take the gore. While we're up there though, I noticed something that doesn't really sit right with me, and it's the amount of gores that I see right there. It's now when I realize that the founder Velino is spawning gores in. It's a bit of a confusing rule for this server, but whenever admins nest in players, they can spawn gores, so we know we have an infinite source of food nearby. While returning to contest for more gore, we come under attack by a pack of velociraptors. Now, velociraptors aren't really worth hunting as a wreck, but they're also extremely dangerous. Because the wrecks can't turn quick enough to get on a velociraptor while they're on your tail, it's entirely possible that a velociraptor could kill you without you ever being able to hit him. This fight was a real nuisance because it took such a long time that we missed our opportunity to steal another gore, and we weren't able to hunt these acros right here. Eventually though, given enough time, these velos will slip up and will give us the opportunity to kill one of them. It's only a matter of making sure they don't kill us until that happens. The fight's getting pretty intense at one point because we're both just trying to finish it. I retreat back to the water only to notice that one is messed up and Pack has gotten it. A small gore like this won't really provide us any protection or any food, so we go ahead and eat it very quickly. This is because we're returning to our original mission of contesting the owner for more gore. And this is where the juiciest piece of drama I've ever seen happen on this server begins. We contest them, but they won't leave the gore, so we make the point to them that they need to leave the spot. When somebody contests you for gore, you drop it and you walk away. However, this guy tries to walk away with our gore despite us telling him that this is ours. We've contested it and they forfeit it because they didn't want us to fight. So when he tries to steal the gore, we go ahead and clap his cheeks. Now, ultimately, I never received a strike or anything for killing this player, but let me know what you think. Was I wrong for killing him when he tried to walk away with the gore? Or should I have been punished for killing him after he forfeited a contest? Let me know in the comments below, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.